Been out of commission for a little while, but I really want to get into this Ray Rice thing for a few minutes. Let's get into it. It's been about a week now since the Ray Rice news came. I think the last time I did a podcast or a video, the Ray Rice news had just dropped, and I made mention of it in the Michael Sam podcast in the last episode about how that's going to really hit the fan when news really starts to propagate about that. So now it's been about a week plus now since it's happened. All sorts of stuff's happened. We've had broadcasters suspended. We've had folks, all sorts of different rights groups, women's rights groups going crazy. We've had fans going crazy. We've had Goodell make his speech over the weekend at the Hall of Fame ceremony about why they did it, and they stand by it. We've had him throw out, in this case, his poor brother about a week earlier. Pretty much he was throwing out there as kind of like to the wolves on ESPN. You didn't have much choice. Can't remember his name at the moment, but it didn't go well. Let's put it that way. When you're not getting support from Mike and Mike, as the NFL, it's not going well for you. So here's my take on this. 2 games for Ray Rice for pretty much assaulting and beating his fiancée at the time, now wife, dragging her out of an elevator. There's videotape footage of it. Now, a couple things are wrong with this whole situation. First thing is the obvious, 2 games for that. Now, yeah, actually 2 games. Now, I'm going to edit a few times in this case because I'm just getting over a cold, so pardon for any interruptions that may happen. But anyhow, 2 games the NFL gives them. You have to ask yourself if Roger Goodell was really thinking about this thoroughly, because at this point, anytime he makes a decision from now on, everyone's going to be comparing it to this decision. Josh Gordon, you're out for a year for smoking some weed in this case, might be a multiple offender, so be it, but people are just going to look at it and say, 1 year for pot, 2 games for beating your wife. Okay. Next time again, Jim Irsay, who in this case, has not been penalized or punished by the NFL yet, and that's been going on now for about 3-4 months, I think, where he was driving 10 in a 35, found out a whole wad of cash and a bunch of pills, I think, or drugs with him on him. So I think that's how the story goes when the cops pulled him over. He's been a multiple offender in the past with a lot of drug addiction. You have to ask yourself now, what do they do with Irsay? There's some people that subscribe to the fact that the reason why the 2-game suspension happened for Ray Rice is because this impending Irsay punishment. That he could get, Goodell could give himself a little room, because let's face it, I mean, pretty much Irsay and others write his checks, so that's a little bit of an uncomfortable punishment he's got to give. He's got no problem waving around the baton big and strong when it's a player. But when it comes to executives, or in this case owners, he's real skittish on making moves on that. So I'm surprised more pressure hasn't come from the public or from media about what's going on with Irsay. Why haven't we heard anything about his punishment? So that's going to be definitely compared to that when it happens, and it's just a bad look overall. I mean, like, if you really want to make a statement about physical abuse for a league that's had trouble in the past dealing with issues, dealing with physical violence and violence against women. They've done so much of the things to try to get women more involved in the sport. They have the breast cancer awareness that happens every year at the same time. I think it's October. Everyone was wearing pink and stuff like that. They've done all sorts of things to try to get women involved in the sport in different ways. With the kids, be it guys or girls doing the kick, punt, throw type of competition. You can't have this and expect folks to say, you know what, we accept the 2 games. It's just not going to work. So, I mean, I think Goodell, I heard Olbermann mention on his show on ESPN the other night about a fireable offense. I think this might lead to it, because I think he's put himself he boxed himself in a corner politically. I think it's going to be a really hot mess, moving forward, because when a guy knocks a guy across the middle and he gives him 2 games for hitting him across the middle in the head, folks going to say, 3 games, wherever it may be, say it's Harrison, for example. Folks will be saying, hey, you gave Harrison 2 or 3 games, whatever the case may be, but Ray Rice, you're giving 2 games as well, too, for beating his fiancée. So I just don't think there's any good way he could come out of this. The irony about this is, just talking about what we discussed a week before with Tony Dungy about Michael Sam being quote unquote a distraction, from a media standpoint. it's kind of interesting to see how everything's played out so far this summer, where we had Irsay with his issue, with the drug issue. We've had Ray Rice. We've had, I think the thing there with the Cluey and stuff like that would go on with Minnesota and his fight with them about some of his stuff. And who else? We had Josh Gordon. Never mind whatever Johnny Manziel seems to be doing, seems to be a distraction. But it's Michael Sam that's the distraction in this case. So I find it really interesting. All off seasons, this off season, where where distraction doesn't hold the same weight as it does in the past, because there's so much stuff going on in the NFL, and Michael Sam's got very little to do with it. And there's supposedly something else is coming down the pike. I'm holding off on it, but my boy sent it out the other day with Jerry Jones and some photos. That's all I got to say. We'll see how that plays out the next couple of days. I may be doing a podcast next week about that. So NFL keeping me busy until the season starts. So it's good to see. Good on that note. I'll get back to you later this week. I want to get on that Paul George discussion. We'll get on that soon too. Anyways, once again, thank you for watching. Subscribe above. Make your comments below. And again, I'll talk to you next week. Stay safe. Peace.